The Mariners are back at 500, but is that going to last through the rest of this homestand? The Mariners are getting ready to take on the Athletics for the next 2 games of this series before taking on the Pirates. There's a lot to talk about in this episode 9 of the Hit It Here podcast. Joe, how are you today?
I'm good, man.
That's good. Did you didn't
No,
sound like you got to watch much of the game.
you're not going to cut me off on this one? Oh,
I would never.
that was kind of surprising. Yeah, I did not get to watch much of this game because, well, blackout restrictions where I'm at. I cannot watch Oakland Athletics games on MLB TV, and all the streams I found were pretty buns. Now would be a great time to add a product placement for a VPN, but that's not happening. Yeah, so I missed the majority of the game. I think I watched an inning and a half at the beginning, and then I was on Twitter, and I saw about 4 batters ahead spoilers, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go on game day instead. So I was watching on game day.
Everything that people are going to want to see is about the 8th inning of this game. I mean, the Mariners won. Sick.
Yeah.
They should. And Marco was good. And JP hit a home run. Ty France hit a home run. But we need to talk a little bit more about Ty France because during the 8th inning, he got hit in the hand right on this area of his wrist. On the outer wrist, there's a bone right here. Got hit by Trevor May, who's a Seattle guy. And he went down to first base and got to first base. And I think he played for an out, which that out was another thing we'll talk about. And then they pulled him and put in Sam Haggerty.
Yes.
First of all, I was like, please don't put in Sam Haggerty to play first base. But nonetheless.
Alas, I had a tweet lined up that said, Jose Caballero, you are now a first baseman. But I didn't send it because I did. So to interrupt you, on game day, it just says injury delay. And I know Francis at bat. And I just went, what the fuck? And I just go to Twitter. I'm just like, refresh. And nothing's popping up. I'm like, what happened? And I see that Ty France is on first. I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not as bad. And then I see the tweets coming like, oh, he was injured. Like, he was down and like not super steady, like on, just stuff where the training staff was out and it wasn't looking good. And I saw where it hit. And I'm like, it's on his freaking wrist. And I mean, ugh.
He was in a lot of pain.
Was it comparable to when like Gino got hit on his elbow and we thought it just shattered his elbow?
I'd say it's similar. I think Gino was a little more animated about it. Ty France he was more face in the dirt. You know what I mean?
Okay, face down, ass up, kind of a thing. Got it.
Yeah. Speaking of Gino, he also got hit in this inning, kind of in between the numbers, and he gave Trevor May a bit of a stare down, which and you could tell Trevor May didn't want to do it, and like Trevor May. I love Trevor May. I know you do too.
Yeah.
And like Gino staring him down, Trevor May was immediate like, that's on me. Like, that's my bad. I'm sorry. It's his first game back after coming off the IL dealing with anxiety. And so, and it's his hometown. He has family in the stands. There's no way, shape, or form that he's trying to hit any of the Mariners in that situation. Yeah. And there's so much more to talk about in this inning, but I do just want to kind of bring up the whole Trevor May thing because, like I said, coming off the IL dealing with anxiety, and he hits 2 guys, possibly injures Ty France. And he did an interview afterwards saying like, I'm going to reach out. I need to reach out. I need to find a way to reach out to Ty France, make sure he's okay because I want to make sure he's still able to play and all this good stuff. Cause Trevor May's a good person. And again, first game back, he's getting a stare down from Gino. I personally don't love that from the Mariners because there's no way in any way, shape, or form is he doing that
like it's an intentional thing.
Yeah. And that's the second time this series where a Mariner has thought the Athletics were hitting them on purpose.
Yeah.
That happened with Julio where he was asking Shea Langoliers, did he hit me on purpose? It's like, no.
Yeah.
Why? Well, they're the Athletics. They're 10-40.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those things where anytime you do get hit in a situation where there's not really like a lot of pressure, I think, mounting, where that's where hit by pitches, I think, kind of come into place, where there's pressure mounting and a pitch gets away because, whatever's going on. I think that's where it comes up. When it's not those situations, when it's just kind of lax, I think is where, was that intentional for whatever reason? And you have to know, I think, as Julio, as the batter, the guy on the mound, notorious for his lack of control. That's why he literally got moved to the bullpen. Shintaro Fujinami was awful with his control as a starter. Athletics moved into a bullpen, and he's still struggling with that. He struggled with it over in Japan. There's no way, like you're saying, it should not be viewed as intentional. I'm pretty surprised that some of the players are viewing it that way. I think, though, it is just one of those things where you get hit. There is that inkling in the back of your mind of like, was that intentional for a second? And then you kind of come back to earth. I don't mind Julio's asking just because, like, Shea Lingler's right there. Was that intentional? Obviously, he's going to say no, regardless of the situation, even if it was intentional. But I think just kind of like not really addressing the pitcher, but more so like the guy behind the plate. Like, yo, what's going on? Obviously not. Gino's stare down, I think it's probably just on backpacking off of two things. Gino's more animated kind of persona, if you will. He is just kind of that guy where he's very high highs of the good vibes only, but also he is an intimidating force. He's not like a tall, big dude, but he would be bottom of my list of guys I'd try to pick a fight with on the Seattle Mariners. You know what I mean? Dude is intimidating.
Who's top of that list?
Who on the Mariners could I pick a fight with? Sam Haggerty. Oh my god.
Oh, okay, fair.
I'm putting him in a chokehold. I mean, if I could catch him, he's really fast, but that's part of the issue.
I think Logan Gilbert. For me.
No, he's so tall. He's a giraffe. He's gonna get so much force behind it. His extension's 100 is in the 100th percentile.
He's gonna hit me from a far distance. That's a good point.
He's gonna hit. He's got the range. He's gonna get a lot of torque behind it.
Interesting.
Anyways, but also with Gino's persona, the fact that France got hit, was it 2 batters before, right?
2 batters before, yeah.
So it's in the same inning. I think Gino's just upset that it happened twice. Where I think we talked about this during our live stream on Sunday, talking about control issues. If a guy just can't seem to find the zone, you got to get him out of there. Yes, it's Trevor May's first appearance coming off the IL dealing with anxiety. If you're, Mark Kotze, was there a mound visit at any point during that 8th inning for the A's, like with the pitching coach came out?
There was after hitting Gino.
Okay. So I think maybe you do it before. If there's a moment where you go out and talk to Trevor May after he hits Ty, I think then it would look less worse. But if you don't do it and he hits 2 guys, it's like, okay, what's going on? So.
Yeah, and I know for May, I mean, this is while the game itself didn't seem like there was a whole lot of pressure going on because you're playing the 10-40 Athletics, you're winning.
Yeah.
It's still, for him, that's a bit like that. That's like a huge.
I was gonna say that's the difference I think between Fujinami and then May. Where May is under that a lot of pressure. People probably should know that if one's going to get away, this is going to be that moment where it's guy making, his return in a 1-run game against the heart of the order. He throws hard, always has. So,
yeah. And so you haven't watched anything from that inning, I'm assuming. You haven't.
No.
You saw the hit by pitch for France. You haven't seen the way May reacted when he hit Gino.
I think you talked about it a little bit when you were explaining it, how he was just immediately like, oh, like my bad, like on me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I saw something on Twitter after the game where it might have been May talking to some sort of press where he's saying you're saying he needs to reach out to Suarez in France, but he said that he hasn't played with them a lot or hasn't really like had an opportunity to play against them a bunch, but he knows that they're good guys. Mm-hmm. And I think that acknowledgement of like, I'm a good guy, go reach out to him. And like he will, because Trevor May, good guy.
Yeah, and so I don't know if for tomorrow and the next day's game, or I guess today when you're watching this, for the next 2 games against the Athletics, I doubt there's any retaliation.
I hope
on the Mariners' part. I hope not, because again, we all agree that none of it's intentional.
Yeah. But
the way the hitters are acting is that they think it's intentional, which I don't know. I'm not going to say that.
If it was the Angels, I might be a little bit more like, okay, what's going on?
Or the Astros.
But it's the Athletics. Like if any team in the division is going to be our bud, it's probably going to be the A's. And I don't know.
I don't know if that's a good thing, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Right. Like, do we want them as our backup? Maybe not, but.
Yeah, and I don't know why you pick a fight with the 10-40 Athletics. They're already down in the dumps as it is.
Exactly.
But well, it'll be interesting to see. The good news about all of this is that Ty France's X-rays were negative. Yes. On that play. So
huge dub.
Doesn't mean that he's going to be in the next couple of days. It doesn't mean that he's not going to be, because they said the swelling was still really bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to imagine.
So also another part of that inning, which again is probably something you didn't see, was the fan interference.
I saw people saying that he just needs to get kicked out of the stadium for life.
I mean, yes, and he looked like, pardon my French, but he looked like a d-bag. Like you could tell he was sitting there like. He was like, come on, give it to me, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't even barb it. He didn't even catch it. Like, he didn't even come close. He sucks. If you watch this channel, bro, I'm sorry, but you suck.
You gotta go hit the fielding drills, bro. So what
And
happened? So it's just a pop fly down the line. Loriano's trying to make a play, and dude gets in the way.
so it was a fly ball down the right field line, and at T-Mobile there's that little cutout that like curves
Yeah.
in
Mm.
where you kind of lose him in the camera, and the fan was up there. He totally misses the ball. It like maybe hit like the pinky of his glove, I think is what they're saying. And Loriano immediately points up saying that it hit his glove and therefore Julio's out.
Sure.
And
Like,
Julio
does
didn't love
Loriano
that,
not
of
even
course.
like make an attempt to catch it or do
Not
anything
really.
there?
I mean,
Was he
at that
close
point,
to making the play?
yes,
Okay.
he probably would have caught it. I mean, it's impossible to say
Sure.
because of just where the ball's at. It wasn't like the Bartman play where the guy's literally camped under it and Bartman's just like, yep.
That's
But
fine. Yeah.
it was a play that, I mean, Loriano's a good outfielder. He probably would have caught that ball.
Yeah.
So I know that Julio didn't love that play. I think that play overall was annoying, and the whole 8th inning was just the craziest thing I think I've
Just
ever
like a
seen
fever
in like
dream.
such a short like amount of time.
Yeah.
So you got to make that catch. If you're the fan, if you make that catch, Julio's probably not out if you make that catch.
Sure.
Because he missed it and then it showed the ball basically careening away from Loriano. Yeah,
It creates that dialogue of, oh, there was a chance to make this play for the fielder, causing Julio to be out. Was it originally ruled the other way and then they overturned it?
No, it was ruled the whole time.
Whole time. Interesting.
Yep. And then the Mariners challenged him.
Okay, I saw the outcry on Twitter of just people, and then I saw that the fans were really just laying into the umpiring crew, like lots of heavy rains of boos and.
So that's the other thing. So that whole inning, and the way that Trevor May took it was that they were booing him. And they weren't. They were booing, in my opinion, they weren't. They were booing.
Could have been
like
a mix of both, but
right. They just the whole inning. They just kept booing, boo the whole time. Even before they hit Suarez, the fans kept booing. It didn't stop. It even went into the next inning. They were booing.
Yeah.
The umpires.
Okay.
But Trevor May, I think, thought they were booing him, and maybe they were for hitting 2 guys.
Sure.
But I don't know. If I'm Trevor May, you can't take that part personally, but. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next few games to see if Mariners get back at anyone.
If I'm the A's management, I'm probably not putting May in another game in T-Mobile. Maybe wait until the next series. He wouldn't even see tomorrow anyways because he threw in the previous game. So maybe it'd be in the final game tomorrow on Thursday. But even then, probably just wait it out. Let him just kind of get back into his groove.
So now let's talk about Marco because he was pretty decent in this game. I think he put up a quality start. Did he go 6? I think he went 6.
You had a great chance at a segue. Talking about getting into someone's groove. Marco after the first inning. It's the typical Marco start where we're down on our luck. We're ready to ban Marco to the Shadow Realm. And then he comes out, has a bad inning. We're like, okay, it's finally time. It's finally going to happen. And I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, the A's already scored. We're down 1-0. And then they scored 2. I'm like, oh, great. But then Marco comes out and has a great rest of his start, as he, I think, typically does in those ones where it's going to go one way or the other. If he gets out of the first inning relatively unscathed, and then the second inning goes well, I think you can usually count a quality start, or close there, too, for Marco after that.
Yeah, and what the first run that was scored was Asturi Ruiz, and honestly, in my opinion, the only reason that he was able to score that run in the first place is because he's really fast.
Speedy boy, isn't he? Is he leading the league in stolen bases? He has 24,
he has 20,
right?
Yeah, he has 20 something.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. No one else is even close.
Yeah.
So let me read you this tweet because this is the tweet I was looking for earlier from Larry Stone. Larry Stone said, "Lots of Marco bashing going on, but here's the deal. He's made 9 starts. 2 have been horrible. A combined 13 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings.
Ouch.
In his other 7 starts, he has a 3.4 ERA.
Mm-hmm.
That works for a 5th starter."
Agreed. I saw some tweet. It was after the first inning. Shortly thereafter, it was like Marco, like, quote, "Marco's a good 5th starter," end quote. Mocking that whole stigma. And yeah, I think if you can't allow, if we're not giving Marco, or any pitcher that is, 1 to 2 bad starts every once in a while, we're not really being realistic. Yeah, you can't peg Luis Castillo, George Kirk, the more premier arms. But we know Marco. We know it's going to happen from time to time. We even said it with Flexen last year before we acquired Castillo. Even this year when we had to use him, before Miller came up. There's going to be some implosions here and there. But aside from those, they're usually pretty steady. And I think that tweet just encapsulates that perfectly.
Yeah, and
I
I mean
guess not
even
even the tweet, just the stats itself, but
yeah, and Jerry DiPoto himself specifically said he's gonna have a clunker once in a while. That's just who Marco is, and that's that's baseball, baby. I mean,
mm-hmm.
look at Marco over a full season. He's generally gonna give you around a 4 ERA. He's gonna probably start 29 to 30 games for
Mm-hmm.
you, and he's gonna go out there every fifth day and probably give you between 160 and 185 innings. He'll never be like a 200 inning guy, but
Yeah. But with a
he
good offense, he's going to give you a chance to win more
pretty much
often than
almost
not.
every night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think a lot of us are very quick to jump on the we need change now. And I think part of that is also because we've seen success from the younger guys that have come up and replaced these veterans that may have been struggling or however it works. Miller obviously has been a very welcome part to the rotation. But if we're so ready to dump Marco for Hancock, who had I think a pretty bad blow up start his last time out in Double A. Wu was phenomenal yesterday against the Frisco Rough Riders, but he's on a pitch limit, so there's just not another option that I think is fully ready. So we just have to sustain Marco.
Yeah, I mean Taylor Dollard's hurt. I think Brian Wu might be ready.
Even with the pitch limit for him?
I don't know if he has a pitch limit anymore. He's gone 6 or 7 innings the past couple of starts.
But that's I feel like that I don't know. I would need to look at his pitch limit because innings I think aren't necessarily the full story because you can Easton McGee, what was it?
Yeah.
50 pitches through 6 innings. I mean, rip Tommy John for him.
Yeah, right.
But it's crazy. Throw one hit ball 6 2/3, and you got to get Tommy John. It's a tough way to go. But yeah, I think Mariners this year have shown a little bit more leash, a little bit more like leniency with the innings specifically because I don't know. I think in that Braves game where Miller started, everyone's like Miller has to come out in the 6th. Everyone was surprised that Scott rolled him out there, and then the whole conversation about they were short in the pen that day. He was going to allow 2 batters, and then that was it for Miller no matter what, or not 2 batters, 2 runners, and I think it shows that there's a little bit more leniency with innings, maybe less with pitches, because I think Miller was still pretty efficient with his pitches going into that 7th inning. For Wu, I'm not fully sure about the pitches, because you're saying he's going deep, which is true, but I think he's just been very, very effective.
Yeah, and that's a fair point, and I'd have to look more into his starts, but I don't know. I mean, you could maybe have him go and then have Marco piggyback him if you need to, or vice versa. That's an option if you still feel like you need to keep Marco on this roster.
Yeah.
That's an option. Like, at that point, more than likely, Chris Flexen is off of this roster by the end of the week or by the end of next week. That's just probably going to happen. Obviously, Marco doesn't play up out of the bullpen. We've talked about that. But if he plays as a piggyback to someone like Brian Wu, maybe... And that's the only thing he gets used for. I'm saying he does not get used for anything else other than to piggyback Wu every 5th day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's an option that you could use as well. I'm not sure. I don't know what the right answer is, but in my opinion, you keep Marco in this rotation for I'd say until the All-Star break at the earliest is when you dump him.
Yeah, because he is still dependable. I'd say, 3.5 out of every 5 starts. I think that's good enough for right now. And, your offense, if it's waking up, it could make that 4. It could make it even 5, where you're going out and winning those games that Marco's pitching. I think it is interesting, though, you're talking about piggybacking Wu and Marco together. Marco starting, and then if he has issues, if it's in the 1st inning or the first time through the order or vice versa, where it's like you get, the standard 3rd time through the order, everyone's got to watch out, Tanner Houck, kind of vibes. It's an interesting thing to think about, like with the Rays, how they, pioneered the opener. Is there like a long opener? You pitch 3 innings and then have another guy go 3 or maybe even 4, and then you get to the bullpen. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. I don't know if it would really work because guys getting into rhythm and stuff, but I don't necessarily see that being worth it. Just keep Marco where he's at.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree. I think as of this very moment, you're pretty satisfied with where your pitching rotation is at. Why change something? You have one of the best pitching staffs in baseball, and Marco is a great number 5. Why change anything? And you may say to yourself, oh, well, because then, we could be even better. But would we really be better? Do we know for a fact that Marco Gonzalez is any worse than Brian Wu or Emerson Hancock right now? we don't, because obviously Bryce Miller was good. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to be good when they first come up. Just because Miller was good, like you got the taste of blood in your mouth.
Blood's in the water.
And
we're looking
now,
for more.
Yeah, it doesn't mean for a fact that these guys are going to be any better than Marco Gonzalez when they come up. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a right answer. All I know is Marco is facing the Yankees, I think, next. So.
Oh, there's the blow up starting in June or the end of May.
No, maybe he pitches the last game of the Pirates series.
I think that lines up.
Doesn't matter.
Regardless, we've got two more games to we got 2 more games to look at for the A's.
We do.
Yeah.
And I have a question.
I'm ready.
Before we look at the rest of it, if Ty France needs a couple days, does Sam Haggerty play first base over the next few days? Or do you call up Dylan Moore early?
I would say not rushing Dylan Moore would be my preference. I would, counter offer you a third option where it's you call up Jake Shiner or Mike Ford for 5 days. Obviously, it's not going to be Ford because he doesn't have options, but Shiner does. You could then use him there and then put him back down into AAA when you need, the roster spot available. I think Moore is definitely an interesting thing to think about with him returning soon, but I would rather them not rush it. And if that means no roster move happens, then they're just going to leave that spot open for Moore and Haggerty plays first base for 2 games against the A's or something, so be it.
Yeah, I think that's more than likely what's going to happen unless there's a chance that Ty France is out for longer than just, the next couple of days. Because I don't think he should play the next 2 days. You're playing against the Oakland Athletics. Just, I don't know.
You've already pushed the series at a minimum. You've already taken 2. You've got 2 very good starters in Gilbert and Kirby Miller and Gilbert the next 2 days. Let them go out and win the game for you. You can win it without Ty France.
And with Bryce Miller on the bump today, it's Miller time, baby. And Breaking T has the greatest Miller time shirt you've ever freaking seen. Joe is wearing a Breaking T t-shirt right now. And you can get this t-shirt as well as the Miller time t-shirt with the link down below. And make sure you follow that one to help us out. It supports the channel.
And if you do, we'll love you forever.
Smooches.
Miller versus Ken Waldichuk. Waldy's nuts. It's night and day. I don't, Waldichuk was, I think, the Athletics' top-rated prospect heading into this season. I think.
Sure.
Something like that. And we know the A's starting pitching just hasn't been it for this team in general. It's a lefty. We're going to see, we're not going to see Trammell. We're going to see Pollock in there. We're going to see Caballero back in the lineup. We should see another great outing from Miller because he did it once against the A's in enemy territory. 2,500 people. There's a lot of pressure there. The Mariners should get to Waldichuk and have no problem taking today's game, in my opinion. Now, I just jinxed it, so we're going to reverse jinx it and say that they're going to lose. But now I'm going to reverse jinx it, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, Tom Murphy should be back in the game today. Obviously, Cal is still dealing with that sore neck. Facing a couple of lefties, this is a good time for Cal to sit the bench a little bit more and just get a few more days off to really rest that neck. He had that MRI, which showed no structural damage, and he was able to DH on Tuesday. But I'd rather Cal Raleigh kind of hang out, watch the game, take it in. Let that big dumper sit on the pine for a little bit.
Yeah,
that way,
up some pine, buddy.
Like my neck would hurt too if I had to carry that thing around. You know what I mean? So it's like,
sure,
I don't know. Just let him sit the next couple of days. Let Tom Murphy just keep catching. Because Tom's been pretty decent this year. Tom had a double on Tuesday, so I just ride the hot hand versus a lefty and get Cal some much needed time on that big dumper.
Completely off top. Did you see Marcell Ozuna smack Will Smith in the head with his bat?
Oh my God.
Crazy. Imagine Cal's neck had that happen to him against Atlanta. It would have just been game over. I would have been flying to Atlanta to go fight Marcell Ozuna on the spot.
You be careful. He's been in quite a few fights.
That's a good point.
I'm going to send you a picture to throw up in this part of the recording.
Okay.
Of spring training not a few years ago, when Jesus Montero took one in the head in a very similar fashion. It was the grossest thing I've ever seen in my life. Anyways, Logan Gilbert versus JP Sears. It should be a fun matchup. Hopefully JP Sears doesn't one hit the Mariners for 8 innings. But former Mariners prospect, JP Sears, I say that every time we face him. Another lefty on the mound. I think we'll see a lot of the same right-handed guys again. Tom Murphy, AJ Pollock, Jose Caballero.
Yeah.
Probably not Ty France.
It's a good thing, though, because Sam Haggerty is better against lefties.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
So the next 2 days will be a couple of good days for Sam Haggerty to swing a baseball bat before he
ultimately ends up in Tacoma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So where he can get everyday at bats, we still think that he needs to get everyday at bats down in Tacoma. I think it'll be good for him to go down there and see the field every day and really make sure he's back from this injury, because other than spring training, he hasn't gotten a whole lot of playing time to prove that, that the groin is not an issue. Mm-hmm. And so I think him going down to get everyday at bats, and I mean, who knows how that's affecting him.
Sure.
And
he stole a base and then advanced to third on a bad throw, right?
He did, yeah.
So I don't know if it's like affecting his running. He just hasn't been able to hit the ball, which is, believe it or not, a huge part of baseball.
The amount of people in our comments today saying they need to send down Wong over Haggerty. Are you guys kidding me right now?
Guys, for real?
If you're really looking at stats, Wong has had a better year than Haggerty. If you guys are saying, but Haggerty's only had a small sample size, so is Wong. Obviously, he's had more at-bats, but still, I'm just saying. And you know what? Colton Wong, specifically, in an interview, said that he's still trying to figure out at this point now what his place is on the team, and he's kind of understanding that he's not going to be the starter anymore, which has never really happened to him in his career. Yeah. This is the first time ever where he has lost that starting spot. So he's a guy who is now going to see this new role for him, and we'll see how it plays out for him. But Haggerty knows his role. He knows exactly what kind of role he plays on this team, and he just needs to go down and get everyday at bats, because once the bat's going hot again, Sam Haggerty is an electric player for the Mariners, but he's not that guy right now. I see on our document over here that you wrote Wong ? Tell me about that.
Caballero just needs a day off. You're not going to have Caballero play, every single game. He is the starting second baseman for right now. But as soon as I saw Wong in the lineup, I know everyone else on Twitter, maybe not everyone else. The Twitter response was, what the hell is Wong doing in the lineup? Get Cabby back in there. But then on the other side of that, everyone's going to freak out because Caballero's not in the lineup. And I knew that was going to happen. It's probably just a day off. It's just a day off. It's just, it would be, Teo getting a day off. It would be Crawford. It's Cal getting a day off. It doesn't matter. It's one game. He's going to be back in the lineup again. We won this game. If that somehow then spurns an 0-for-21 streak for Caballero, the world's going to be set on fire, because on May 23rd, Scott Service decided to not play Jose. It's just going to be this big butterfly effect, and Mariners Twitter's never going to see, let Scott hear the end of it. But yeah, I don't know. Seeing Wong in the lineup, it wasn't very surprising to me, because it is, in a way, still a platoon to a degree, right? Where Caballero is seeing the majority of the time, and Wong is trying to get back on the right track. It didn't happen for Wong today. I still think, Caballero is going to continue to supplant Wong at that position and be the better guy for the longer term, and really kind of force the hand of Scott and management to kind of take a look at themselves and maybe be like, okay, like, where are we at with these veteran guys that just aren't really performing? With France out, it definitely creates an interesting dynamic with how the, infield kind of shapes out. I would not be surprised to maybe see Gino taking reps at first, or Caballero taking reps at first, having Caballero slide over to third if Gino's able to play first. His charisma card in MLB The Show can play first base. Let him do it.
Randomly, yeah.
Let him do it.
No, it can play shortstop.
It can play shortstop. Yeah, it's first base and shortstop. I don't know. I think, if you're going to try and mix and match there, and you don't necessarily want to play Haggerty every day, and you don't want to play Wong every day, that's kind of where you're looking at. But I'm kind of interested, I guess, just in your thoughts on Wong and how, the weekend went for Caballero, because, or not the weekend, earlier in the, back-to-back games with a home run. Amazing for him. What are your thoughts on him sitting out a day?
Relax, people.
Pump the brakes.
Just relax. Calm down. Jose Caballero is not the second coming of Jesus.
He's the second coming of Ham Swaggerty. I can tell you that.
I think that in terms of this platoon, okay, yes, it is still a platoon. Jose Caballero is not going to play every single day. He's just not. I would call, instead of it being a 50-50 platoon, I'd call it more of like a 60-40, maybe even a 75-25.
That's where I would go. I would lean 75-25 right now. With
Caballero getting 75% of the at-bats, but every once in a while, Colton Wong is going to get an at-bat here and there.
Yeah.
And in Colton Wong's defense, I know I'm the big Colton Wong defender, even though he spells his name like a dummy.
Mm-hmm.
In Colton Wong's defense, he hit the ball hard, really hard, twice today, and it just didn't show up in the box score. And he played good defense. He played good defense today. No miscues whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, Caballero is still the starting second baseman. Wong played okay today. You know, he played no worse than Julio Rodriguez.
Damn.
Thoughts? Colton Wong
Hot take.
has been a better hitter this month than Julio Rodriguez.
Julio got a hit today, no?
I rest my case.
I think you're wrong on that, but yeah, I think
I just like to stir the pot.
Yeah, it is just a flipping of the narrative though, with where we were kind of at with second base. It's like, okay, Colton Wong's gonna see the bulk, and then people will fill in. Okay, flip it. This guy that just came out of nowhere is now seeing the bulk of second base, and he's playing well. And to his credit, he is playing very well. So he should see the majority of the time. And I understand our back-to-back games with the home run. It's a hot bat. You don't want to see that out of your lineup because any given day you could be getting, one hit or two hit against the Athletics into the seventh inning or whatever it was today until J.P. Crawford and Ty France decided to unload on the ball. It's one of those things where if Cabby's in the lineup, do we score before that? You never know, but it's never a guarantee either. So, yeah, relax, I guess, with just the outrage around Wong seeing an at-bat.
And if it seems like randomly Jose Caballero just kind of came out of nowhere, that's just because he did. And I made a video about where Jose Caballero came from. It's on the screen now. Go ahead and click that one. Appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.